It is officially March, and you know what that means? That means March Madness is right around the corner. And what that also means is we will be continuing our predictions of every single conference tournament in college basketball. We did the ASUN, I think that was 2 days ago. Now our second one of the year is going to be the Sun Belt, and we're going to be rapid firing these in the next 2 weeks when all these conference tournaments. Because like I said, we're doing all 31. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. We got loads of content coming up here, preparing for March Madness. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into our bracket and kicking things off. Yes, I know this is a very strange bracket approach. They're taking the West Coast Conference way of things, where they give the very very strong advantage to the 1 and 2 seeds. The weird thing about the Sun Belt is it's not like the West Coast where they have like what 10, 11 teams. They have 14 teams last year. They had a much different conference tournament bracket. Now they really changed up the format, and this was, uh, pretty interesting when I first saw this. I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, it pretty much eliminates all real possibility of there being a low seeded just Cinderella run in this tournament. But we'll see. I mean, well, let's just get into the predictions. So starting off at the 12 versus 13 game, Southern Miss versus Coastal Carolina. Now these two teams actually, I believe, have played pretty recently. I think Coastal Carolina did win, and it was at Southern Miss, so that's definitely something to look at. When you look at KenPom for this game, it actually says Southern Miss should win this game. They're much better on the defensive end than Coastal Carolina really is on either side of the floor, and Coastal is one of the worst teams in terms of KenPom in this conference. I believe they're actually second worst, which I guess makes sense to their seeding. But Southern Miss is actually ahead of teams like Old Dominion, who's all the way up at the 10 seed. So that's definitely interesting. Southern Miss also plays at a very high pace for them being a more defensive heavy team, which you don't really see that often. Usually defensive teams are more slow, which I thought was definitely interesting. The thing about Southern Miss, you read all that, you think Southern Miss should win this game. They just got beat by them. But Southern Miss has lost 8 games in a row, and that's not something you want to see. Maybe if they were a higher seed and they had some time to kind of regroup, but losing 8 in a row coming into the tournament, I don't love that. I'll go ahead and give the edge to Coastal. Yes, Coastal did just go in there and beat them as well, and this will be at a neutral set, I believe. So I'll go ahead and give the edge to Coastal. Louisiana Lafayette versus Louisiana Monroe. Louisiana Monroe is one of the bottom 20 teams in the country in terms of KenPom. They have one of the worst offenses in the country. And yeah, I mean, there's just not really anything to get excited about. I mean, Louisiana Lafayette's not anything special, but I'll go ahead and take them. I'm always down for some raging Cajuns. But moving back up to the top, Georgia Southern versus Coastal Carolina. I do love Coastal. I just love the vibe they got going on. But Georgia Southern, I think, is pretty clearly the better team. They're top 250 in both offense and defense compared to Coastal, which is, I don't believe, top 300. They're barely top 300 in offense, but not even really close defensively. So I'll go ahead and take Georgia Southern here pretty easily. I think they get it done over Coastal. Old Dominion versus Louisiana Lafayette. This is a pretty close matchup in terms of KenPom. Both these teams are like within 3 spots of each other. Very 50-50 on where you could potentially go. I'm actually going to go with Louisiana Lafayette. I think they get it done over Old Dominion. I think they're just, Old Dominion is a bit more well-rounded, but when I look for teams that I want to pick to go on upsets, I look for kind of the highest. And Louisiana's defense is much higher than Old Dominion is on either side of the ball. And so yeah, and I think they ride that little momentum they got from the kind of warm-up game with UL Monroe, because I don't think UL Monroe realistically really has much of a chance to win that game. I guess they have a small chance, but yeah, I think the Cajuns get it done. I think they move on to take on Texas State there. Georgia State versus Georgia Southern. I'm actually going to go with another upset here. I'll take Georgia Southern kind of for the same reason as I took Louisiana Lafayette. I just think First of all, Georgia Southern much higher in Ken Palm than Georgia State. I think they ride that momentum over the uh, with their win against Coastal, and I think they get past Georgia Southern or sorry, Georgia State here. Two very similar team names. Georgia State has one of the worst defenses in FBS. They do play at a pretty fast tempo, and they have actually a pretty solid offense. So maybe that could concern Georgia Southern. But Georgia Southern also likes to play at a very fast tempo. They actually play at a faster tempo, a faster pace than Georgia State. So I think if Georgia State wants this game to get high scoring, get fast paced, I think Georgia Southern is very capable of hanging with them and getting it done. So, and they're also much more well rounded. So I'm going to take them. Texas State versus Louisiana. Unfortunately, I do think this is where Louisiana Lafayette's run comes to an end. I'm going to take Texas State. I just think overall they're the much better team. They're actually the first team we've talked about to be top 200. In Ken Palm, just overall, not offensively or defensively. But Texas State is actually just outside the top 100 in offensive efficiency. Their offense is very strong, and I think that could actually help them maybe get a little bit of a run going. Actually, if there was a sleeper team, I would say it's Texas State. I don't know if you could really classify many teams in this conference as a sleeper because, first of all, there was a four-way tie for the top four seeds in the conference, and then fifth, I believe Marshall was only a game or two out. And then App State was a game behind Marshall. So, really, the top six teams, I feel like could all win it. Maybe. I mean, I could see it. Realistically, I'd say the top four teams all have a really good shot. I'd say the top six teams could. If I had to give you a dark horse, though, it would be Texas State just because how good they are offensively. They've been playing pretty solid as of late as well. So, I could see Texas State making some noise. Marshall versus Georgia Southern. Like I said, I feel like just the higher seeds are just much better in this conference. There's a bit of a tier gap, honestly, after Texas State. So I'm going to take Marshall. I just think, Marshall, top 200 in both offense and defense. They're a fast-paced team. I don't think Georgia Southern can keep up. I think they kind of run out of gas a little bit, maybe. It's very hard to make a run in this tournament. I mean, if you are an 11, 12, 13, 14, you have to win, what is that, 2, 3, 4, 5? I mean, you have to win a crazy amount of games. It's not even, you have to win 7 games. I mean, that is ridiculous. All in a 7-game span, by the way. No breaks, just back-to-back days. That's crazy stuff. But, hey, I guess it rewards the regular season. Let me know in the comments what you think about this format. I don't know. I like it, but I feel like this is too much. It gets to a point where there's too many teams. You can't really do this. I feel like 12 has got to be the max in my opinion. That might even be pushing it a little bit, but I know the West Coast Conference does that too. So, but anyways, back to the 6 versus 7 game, App State versus Texas State. This is a battle of defense versus offense. The difference is App State's defense is quite a bit better than Texas State's offense, as well as App State's offense is quite a bit better than Texas State's defense. I just think App State overall is the better team. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Texas State did go out there and win. Like I said, they're very fast-paced. They're very high-powered offense. But I feel like App State can kind of slow them down. App State's one of the slowest teams in FBS, and I think they just suffocate them with their defense. I mean, they have a top 70 defense. That's very solid. They're actually one of only a couple teams in this conference to be one of only 5 teams to be actually positive overall in Ken Palm, and they are a 60. They're actually ahead of Marshall by just a little bit. So I'm going to take App State. I'm going to give them the slight edge. Moving on, though, to the 4 versus 5 game, Arkansas State versus Marshall. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I really like Arkansas State here. I think Marshall of the 6 teams we have remaining, I think they're probably the weakest. This was interesting. So, like I said, there was a 4-way tie for 4 teams shared the regular season title for the Sun Belt this season. But Arkansas State is actually the highest team in this conference in KenPom as the 4 seed. I know that's pretty strange to see. So I do think they get past Marshall here pretty easily. Though I'm really not that worried. Troy versus App State now. Both these teams are very good defensively. App State is actually a little bit better, believe it or not, defensively than Troy is. The difference is Troy is quite, it's really not even close when you compare these two teams' offense. Troy's also on a 3-game win streak. They've been playing pretty solid as of recently. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. I mean, they take care of business. I think they get past App State. I think Troy is a very good team. I mean, yeah, they just took down Arkansas State a couple 2 weeks ago. I was just praising them. I think Troy has what it takes to get past App State. Like I said, both teams very good defensively, but Troy rebounds the ball very well, so I like them. They do it as a team as well. So I'm gonna take Troy to move on to the semis. South Alabama and Arkansas State. Like I said, both these teams. These 4 teams I feel like are really the only realistic ones that could win this conference. I mean, maybe, like I said, you could throw Marshall and App State in there if you want a dark horse. I would say Texas State, but it's probably going to be one of the top 4 teams. I would be surprised if it wasn't. And starting off, South Alabama versus Arkansas State. I believe South Alabama won both games against Arkansas State this season, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. No, yeah, South Alabama won both of the games. I think it's third time's the charm for Arkansas State. I think they get it. I think they get it done over South Alabama. I think they do. I just think defense. Both these teams are more defensive heavy, and I think with Arkansas State being the better defensive team, I think that favors them in this matchup. Weird thing about Arkansas State, they're ranked 66th in defense. They're also one of the fastest teams, or one of the faster. I don't want to say fastest, but one of the faster teams in terms of offensive pace and just game pace in general. I don't think South Alabama's really going to like that, and I think Arkansas State's going to be able to dictate this game. I think they get past South Alabama, like I said. I think they third time around, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. I think Arkansas State finally gets over the hump against South Alabama. Now, James Madison versus Troy, we really haven't talked at all about. Yeah, I feel like we haven't really talked either of these teams in depth. James Madison, much more offensive. You see South Alabama, Arkansas State, Troy, more defensive heavy. James Madison is probably the best offense in this conference, which I think does favor them. But you could argue that also hurts them because in a conference that's more defensive heavy, it's kind of the same thing with football wise, where if you get into you're coming from a air raid conference, you go into a physical one, you tend to struggle. I feel like that could be the same thing for James Madison. Now, clearly not. I mean, they're second seed. They've done pretty well for themselves this season, and they're 20-11, top 100 offense in the country as well. The weird thing about James Madison is their offense top 100, but they are one of the slowest teams in Division I. So I guess that means they're very efficient. And they don't turn the ball over as much. Now, James Madison, I believe, won. These two teams only played one time in the regular season. I believe James Madison did win. But I think Troy gets it around their second time. I think they get it done. I just think, with James Madison leaning offensive and playing that slow, I think that just honestly plays right into Troy's hands. I think they like that. I think that's what they want. And I think they get it done over James Madison. I do. Their defensive team and the fact that James Madison's going to want to slow the game down with them not being great defensively. I think if Troy can hit some shots, they're a decent shooting team. So I think Troy should be able to get to the championship game. So that sets up a 4 versus 3 matchup. Arkansas State versus Troy. Sun Belt. They're definitely producing a bit of an interesting product here, even from the bracket format all the way to this. I mean, it's crazy to see a 4-way tie at the top of a conference. But yeah, both these teams closing the regular season on a 3-game win streak. I think these two teams, Arkansas State is actually the betting favorite to win this conference. I thought that was a little bit interesting. But yeah, Arkansas State, recently Troy actually did just beat them by 1 point on the road. Both they split the season series, both winning on the road, which is weird. So this will be kind of the winner go home, winner take all, if you will. I mean, whoever wins this game will be going to March Madness. Who do I think will win? Well, like I've been saying, both these teams are quite a bit defensive focused. The thing here is Arkansas State ranks 66th in defense. Troy ranks 77th, so pretty close there. Arkansas State does have the edge. Offensively, though, Troy 183 in offense compared to Arkansas State at 119. I think if you're a 4 seed and you're the betting favorite, I think that's probably a good chance you're going to win. I mean, UConn, let's not forget, a couple of years ago in March Madness, I know this isn't the same thing, but they were a 4 seed. They weren't the betting favorite, but they were one of the favorites just because of how good their numbers were. I think it's the same thing with Arkansas State. I think they get it done. I think they go back to the big dance. I believe they made it out of the Sun Belt last year. I'm pretty sure they upset App State, who was like everyone's favorite, one of everyone's favorite mid majors, and Arkansas State snuck in there. If Arkansas State does get in, which I'm predicting they will, I think they'd probably get 13, 14 seed. I mean, out of the Sun Belt, they're actually a pretty solid team. I think they're 22-9 overall. Like I said, almost top 60 in defense. They're a fast-paced team. I think all the signs are pointing towards Arkansas State. I'm pretty confident it's going to be one of the top 4 teams, but I actually like the fact for these 3 and 4 seeds that they kind of get a game to get settled in it before they go against South Alabama and James Madison. So I'm actually taking both them to get to the championship game, but I am going to take Arkansas State as my Sun Belt champion and my second team that I'm predicting to make March Madness. I don't know if it'll be second because I don't know if this conference will be the second to finish, but it's the second video I'm making. So yeah, with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the Sun Belt Conference Tournament predictions. If you did, make sure you go on there and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Turn on the noties. Not only do we have all 31 conference tournament videos coming up, as well as March Madness here in almost 2 weeks. We'll get brackets 15 days away. It's crazy. It's coming up real quick. But not only do we have all that, we do college football, NFL, NBA, and MLB. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. We just hit 200 subs, so I can't thank you enough for that, and we're hoping to continue this start into March. Best month to be on the channel, like I've been saying. So yeah, just thank you. Greatly appreciate it with all that. But with all that being said, that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon with another conference tournament prediction video.